Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do the full review for the FQ777, that's the name brand, F8 monster drone. Now I did film a initial flight impressions video for this a week or so ago, so if you just want to see how it flies, you can go check that video out. Though I'm going to include a flight review for this today, and we'll also test in that flight review the follow me mode feature, which I did not test in the initial flight impression. So as you can see, it kind of looks like a briefcase here, and it's kind of like a styrofoam material. This is actually what the drone comes in. So let's go ahead and open it up. It does have some locks here you can snap. I already have those open. And just go ahead and open up the drone. You can see it comes in a very nice case with these foam insert cutouts for everything, and you can just throw the whole drone in there and go. Now this is a GPS drone, and it does have a 2-axis brushless gimbal on it, and the drone itself is brushless as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the drone first. Here she is, the monster drone. As you can see there on top. Here is the 2-axis gimbal on the front. It has a 120-degree wide-angle fisheye lens, so you do have to be okay with that because it is quite fish-eyed. It shoots 2.5K at 25 frames per second, so not a terrible frame rate. You know, you'd like to see it closer to 30, but it's better than some of these I've seen that do 20. And 2.5K is a better resolution than many of the drones that do 1080p or they do 2K. But this gimbal is, you know, being as a fully functional 2-axis gimbal, this should hold the horizon and keep the video stable, but mine still has some shakes, and you'll see that in the flight review. But the biggest problem I have is just the amount of jello. There's a considerable amount of jello at times in the video, and that's probably from the props and the gimbal not being dampened, you know, well enough. That's just still getting vibes across the sensor in there, and that's introducing that jello. But this is a low-cost drone. It's like $140 with one battery, so I can't be overly critical because you just don't find any drone at that price range with a fully functional gimbal that doesn't have jello. But ideally you'd like to see, obviously, any brushless gimbal drone, you want to see no jello. But photos don't look too bad. I took some photos in a flight review, and you'll see that aside from the fisheye look of the photos, they're not too bad. The drab color is, a lot of that's just because of the time of the year being winter. Nothing really looks very good outside. Not a good time of the year for aerial photography. The drone also has a SD card slot, which is right down here in the back. And so you at least get to record the footage here to the card and not over Wi-Fi. Has an optical flow camera here, right in here, and that will help it, like if you fly it indoors, it can hold position so it doesn't need a GPS lock. Here's your power button. Let's go ahead and unfold the arms. It tells you to fold the one first, which is the front, and then you can fold out the rear. So you fold out the front here, and then fold out the rear. And there it is. And then you can put these landing feet down here, or the landing gear, whatever you want to call it. And there it is. It's got LEDs here in the front and then the back here. If you just power it on, you can see these are red and green. You have to hold it down for a moment, and now it's powered up, and the gimbal's powered up. So you got these white eyes looking LEDs in the front. It's a pretty cool looking quadcopter. We'll take a look at the battery. The battery's quite large and quite heavy. When you take it out, the drone's a lot lighter when you take that battery out. I think the flight time is advertised around 25 to 27 minutes in that range. And I didn't test a full flight time, but it did seem to get a pretty good flight time, which you'd expect with the really large battery. Let's go ahead and pop that battery out. If I can get it out of here, it's a little bit hard to get the battery out. You have to kind of get to lift up on this little tab and get your thumb in there, and then there the battery comes out. It is a 2500 milliamp 3S, as you can see, 11.1 volt battery. It's a pretty large battery. Now it does charge off just a balance plug here, and I'll show you the charger in just a moment. So it is a very slow, like 4 or 5 hour charge. Unfortunately, there's really no way to charge it off a hobby grade unless you've got some hobby grade charger that allows charging off the balance port. But the balance plug is going to be a slow charge regardless because of the gauge of the wire, so you're not going to be able to get a fast charge too terribly fast off of the balance plug anyway. So let's go ahead and look at the drone some more. As you can see here, we get the brushless motors. So it's pretty powerful. It's not super stable, but it's not terrible. When you take off, lots of times it tends to kind of dart out one direction and then kind of correct itself. So keep that in mind. But overall, it's not too bad of a flyer. And these will vary. Some of these might fly better than others. I know David, my buddy David's got one, and his overall craft is just, the drone is more stable than mine. Also, his gimbal isn't quite as shaky as mine as well. So let's set the drone out of the way, and let's take a look at the controller here. If you have to install these little gimbal sticks here, so I'm trying not to pull on them because they will pop off. So you can see here. So you just install those, because when you pull out the, if I can get it back in there, when you pull out the little hand grips here, you can see in here, this is where they actually come whenever you get the drone. So you pull them out and then insert them in there. These antennas are fake, so you don't even need to put those up if you don't even want to mess with it. Here's your photo, your video button and your photo button, and you got your tilt for your gimbal here on the right. So there is some Wi-Fi lag, so it's not super smooth. It's kind of, a bit jerky, even though it doesn't seem to be a brush. It feels and looks to me like a brushless gimbal, and there's certainly not any gears, but it kind of it tilts a little more like a geared gimbal, you would think, on the pitch. And here's it has 3 speed rates. You do the dial back and forth, and it beeps, and that will increase the pitch, and the yaw is faster as well. This is a go into headless mode. I think a long 3-second press will put this into altitude hold only mode. Here's your auto takeoff and landing, which do require a longer press to activate that. Here's your return to home. That's just a quick press. And then your power button. This controller is rechargeable. To power it up, you have to do a short, then a long press. So short, then long, sort of like DJI, and then it comes on. If you just press it once quickly, it will show your battery meter and then go back off, so it doesn't actually power up. The USB charging port here is a micro USB cable. I'll show you the charger for that in just a second. And here's how you flip it up, and there's your phone clip. And then you've got this little screen. Let me power it back up so you guys can see it. And then I think the arrow will face towards the butt or the back of the drone on here. You got your signal meter, your satellites, your battery and transmitter your drone for your RX and TX for your controller battery levels. Your photo video icons and your other telemetry information, like how far away you are, stuff like that. So that covers the controller for this. It's a decent controller. It feels a bit toy gray, but it's not like super cheap. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Now you have to do that short press and then long press to turn that off, I believe. There we go, and that's off. Here is the spare battery. So we already looked at the battery. This one I got the 2 battery version, so I have an extra battery. I've not even opened this, and I've been using the same battery in both of my flights with this. And here is some extra props that come in here. You got extra props. You've got this is your 3S balance plug to USB, and that's of course why I said it takes so long. And it's got a light in there that flashes and lets you know when it's done. And then there's another one in here that is your for the controller, because it does have a red light, but I don't know if you have to use this. I would use it anyway, but the controller seems to let you know when it's finished. But just to be safe, you use this one just so it wouldn't happen to possibly overcharge it. But the light never changed from red in here, so I think the controller just turns that off and on. Here's a little piece of foam. I think that's here in the bottom. That's to replace these little foam pads here on the bottom of the feet if they come off. I believe that's what that's for. And then you've got a screwdriver, of course. It wouldn't be a drone without a screwdriver for repairs. So that's all the stuff that comes in the drone. So overall, it's It's an okay drone if you want to just be able to fly for a while, and you want to be able to do some maybe reconnaissance or something and take some photos. But if you want it for video, even though the specs are decent, the video has an awful lot of jello. It's hard to recommend it for that. But if your absolute budget's 150 bucks, well, this drone might be for you. It does have an advertised range of around 1 to 1.2 kilometers control distance, but the Wi-Fi FPV range is only 500 meters. Now it does use 802.11ac, or otherwise known as 5G Wi-Fi. Now don't confuse that with 5G LTE type 5th generation cellular service. We're talking about 5G Wi-Fi. So make sure your phone is compatible with 802.11.ac. 5G Wi-Fi. If you have an older phone, it may not have that and you can't use it. Now, the app that you're going to use, and I'll put a screenshot up here, is the VK GPS app. Then you just press understand more and it will come up, and of course we're not bound or anything. You've got all your controls. The only thing I saw here was a follow me. I didn't see a circle me in here, and you got your return to home and your auto takeoff, auto landing, all your other typical stuff, just like any other Wi-Fi drone. Your photo video over here on the side. So pretty standard Wi-Fi FPV type app. I did a screen recording it again, and you'll be able to see how the app actually functions during the flight review. All right, guys, that covers the table review portion for the FQ777 F8 monster drone. Let's move along outside now for that flight review. So be right back. Alright guys, so let's take the FQ777 F8 monster drone out now for its full test flight. Of course, I did an initial flight video just to get it in the air, and today's a pretty nice day. It's around 50 degrees. As you can see, these flag poles over here, there's very little breeze. It'll be a really nice day to take this up and fly it, and you know, the bad weather's kind of held off, so I'm able to get it in the air sooner than I thought. And I'm at a different park that I haven't flown at in ages. In fact, I don't think I've ever actually done a review at this park. But what I'm going to do is we'll take it up, we'll test the follow me, circle me, those modes, and you know, see if do we have any better, you know, less jello, or even more importantly, is the gimbal, you know, able to hold its horizon and be more stable on a much less windy day compared to the other day when I flew it. But I know, you know, everything I've seen, this drone's got jello in it. That's just from probably poorly balanced props and maybe not enough damping on this little brushless gimbal. But we'll take it up here and we'll see how it looks. I'm going to we'll do a quick compass calibration, you know, before you take it in the air here, and I'll just go ahead and bind it up and do that. If you want to see how to do the compass calibration and watch my initial test flight, you just do a figure 8. I'm just going to go ahead real quick and do that stuff just to shorten the length of this video so we don't end up with too long of a video, since this is the full review. So I'll be right back, guys, and we'll get it up in the air. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and take the FQ777 F8 up for test flight. Now I did do a little flying here just for a moment, so the battery isn't going to be full, as you'll see. I was having some trouble. I went to tell it to take off, and it would just fire the motors up and then shut down. And another person commented they had that problem. I think it's saying, hey, it needs a compass calibration, but I had just done that. But I've got it working now, so if it does that to you, power everything off, power it up, do a compass calibration again, and see if that gets it up into the air. So we'll just take it up, we'll fly it around here. I want to see on return to home, does it actually land, or is it going to hover? I had it hover twice, and on the third time it landed when I used the app, though, to land in my initial flight impressions. So I don't know what's up with that thing. But if you want to see how to do the compass calibration, it's just a figure 8 motion, and you just do that in the, you know, you just do your sticks down to the left and up to the right here to do it. Gyro is the opposite direction. Watch if you want to see how to do that, watch the initial flight impressions. I'm trying to skip some things I already did just because I'm trying not to make this video too terribly long. So let's go ahead and let's start recording video with a quick press on the right here, and then let's go ahead and do both sticks down and out, or sticks down and in, excuse me, and then you can do an auto takeoff right here by holding this. There you go. This drone does the optical flow as well, but it probably doesn't use that outdoors unless it was to lose its GPS lock. That's more for flying inside. So I think some drones will use it to help aid the GPS to get a better, you know, position hold. All right, so let's see. I think we're Let's go all the way up to the highest rate. I think I'm in that already. Looks like it. To the left it'll beep, and that's the lower rates there. There's less, yeah, there's less pitch there. I'm gonna go back up to the highest rate though, with the left dial. There we go. And let's take a look at the gimbal tilt here, guys. Waving at you. The gimbal tilt is a wheel on the right, and that's all the way up there. And we can tilt it back down. There is some Wi-Fi lag, but we're tilting it down. It's kind of slow, so it doesn't go. It won't tilt all. It won't tilt straight down though. It looks. That's it looks like about as far as it goes. It looks like it's probably about 45 degrees. That's all the way up. Oh, it's slow. I'm gonna tilt it down a little bit, just so we don't get as much of the props in the video. Let's take it out and just fly it over the water here for a second. There's a lot of glare from the sun today. It's a really nice day, as I mentioned a while ago. We'll see if we get as much jello. It looked like a while ago when oh boy, that was a weird little shake. You can see some props there, but there is some jello wobble. I just want to see if does the gimbal behave any better than it did the other day when I did my test flight, because it was really windy. I'm going to take it up higher here. Yeah, I can see quite a bit of jello wobble. But my gimbal was awfully shaky compared to even like my friend David's. I think the wind may have been causing that, but these cheaper kind of drones, and this is the cheapest drone I know of that actually has a stabilized gimbal. One can be a lot more stable than the next drone's gimbal. There's just no quality control on those, and it's really cheap. The gimbal's not, you know, it's a brushless gimbal, but it's the motor, you know, it's very cheap feeling. The whole drone is very lightweight when you remove the battery. If you balance those props, I think we could eliminate some of that jello, but you're not going to be able to correct that gimbal shake. That's just simply the gimbal, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. All right, let's see if we can try a few features here. We got return to home and follow me. Actually, I don't know if it even has a circle me. I said that a while ago, but I'm not sure it even has it. Let's press that, and now it says it's going to follow me. So and it looks like it is. That was pretty quick to initiate. Let's make sure this doesn't fly into the tree here. But yeah, it's following me. Trying to keep it in my head cam and walk backwards isn't easy down this hill. Let's see if it goes this way. Yeah, it is. So yeah, the follow me works actually pretty good. I've seen a big improvement lately in these lower cost drones. I'm going to give it some throttle there. I don't want it to go into that tree. I'm going to go ahead and cancel it just by pressing it again. I believe that'll cancel it. Looks like it's still there. It's canceled. It was a little slow before that yellow on the icon disappeared. The follow me, they've really improved. Even my cheap brushed GPS toy drones, the follow me's been working pretty good. So I see a return to home, auto takeoff, auto landing. I actually don't see a circle me right over here in the app. There may be one in here though, and I'm just not seeing it. And there is waypoints. Because I ran the battery down, I'm not gonna mess with that. Maybe I'll come back. I'm not a huge fan of waypoints, especially on these cheaper drones, just because, I don't know. I like to fly them, and that's completely automated, but I had bad luck with that even on my Evo, because that was my fault for not taking into account elevation change. Well, let's fly it out here a little ways and we'll try that return to home. Like I said, you got to return to home, and then you have an auto takeoff and an auto landing in the app. Auto landing, I think that works for me, but David, I thought he said his didn't, and a while ago when I pressed it, it didn't want to come back. So I'm going to face this back towards me because I think it'll just fly backwards when you tell it to return home. So let's do a quick press and see if it flies back. Well, now it's raising up. So make sure you remember it's a quick press. I think in my initial flight impressions I was doing a long press. A lot of them do that long press so you don't accidentally bump it when you're flying and have it fly back home. But this is a quick press. Well, it's kind of toilet bowling up there. Let's see if it comes back. I've got it over on the edge of this concrete. And right now it is way, way, way off. Oh, you know what? I remember this drone does a weird thing now. It flies back to your last position you were at if you did a follow me mode, rather than flying back to the return to home. It's really weird. So I'm gonna bring it down now and we'll try to see if we can land it, take off again, and have it mark that spot. That's right. I remember from Quadcopter 101's review, he had the same problem. Boy, is it slow to come down too. We're down to 35% battery, so we won't have too much time on this guy. Now again, the battery was full, so don't take this flight time as the full flight time. I'd actually flown it some before this video started here, just because I was having issues getting it to take off. So that's why the battery is, you know, lower than it would be typically. All right, and let's go ahead and see if it'll stop beeping. All right, let's stop beeping now. Let's go ahead and take it back up now and test that return to home accuracy. I'm gonna take it off facing towards the trees here, and hopefully that'll cancel out that weird flying back to your last location, because I did cancel the follow me over here, and that's exactly where it flew to. Very, very strange, because a lot of people aren't going to want that. They're going to want it to fly back to where it took off from. You know it didn't land back there. You may not want it to hover over there, so it's very, very strange. Let's go ahead and stop recording video. I'll go ahead and start recording some more video again. Actually, I take that back. Let's take it up and take a few photos, and we'll just use a screen recording, and then we'll send it back home. So let's go ahead and do both sticks down and in, and just I'm going to give it some throttle. Let's just take it up here and take a few photos. So I'm going to take a photo off that direction. There we go. You got a little shutter sound. Because photos might be what this drone's really going to be good for, because the jello wobble was pretty bad on this drone for having a gimbal. Let's take one off this way now. Take a photo there. Let's take one off this other way too. Alright. Let's just fly it over here a little ways, and let's see if it'll return to home now and land over here on the helipad. So I'm going to go ahead and press return to home, just a quick press. Now it's going to fly up. I think it goes up to 27.8, around, it should be 30, around 30 meters high, which I can see in the app. And then it's going to fly back. You cannot, as far as I can tell, set that or change it. The app just gives you some distance and height restrictions or you can use when flying, like a novice mode as well. All right, that looks like that's going to come down here. I hope. Let's see, is it descend now? We are at 23, 22. Yeah, it's coming down. All right, good deal. But I know it's slow to land, but the last time it just sat there and didn't come down. In fact, I had somebody in the comments say, oh no, it just hovers over the landing spot. Like, well, it didn't the last time for me. Yeah, it's up 15, 14, boy, it's really slow. So follow me worked good. Return to home does land here, but just be mindful that I had a few instances where it didn't. But most importantly, if you are using follow me mode and then you do return to home, it's going to fly back to the last follow me mode spot where you canceled it. It is not going to land on your helipad. Alright, that's not too bad. Let's see if it stops beeping here. I think I'll have to cancel it with the controller. Yeah, just like a while ago, a quick press, and that stopped it. Alright, we're getting pretty low on battery, guys, so I think that'll be sufficient for wrapping up this flight review, especially since I did have an initial flight review video as well, so you guys can go check that out and see. But you know, it does have jello. The gimbal doesn't work particularly well. Now you have to consider this drone is not very expensive, around $140 for just a single battery version. So I do keep that in mind, but you know, there are much better drones out there if you have a little bit better budget. But if this is your absolute max you can spend, let's say it's 150, you know, this drone might do okay if you're just okay with photos or some reconnaissance to fly it out and look in your app. Just to fly around, then it'll work fine. Again, the return to home is a little odd. You know, it usually lands, but sometimes I had it not. And then of course, like I said, the follow me mode, if you use that at all before you land, it's gonna fly back to where you cancel follow me. So as you saw, I had to land it and then took it back up, and then it remarked the home spot, and it came back and it landed. And it has a pretty good flight time. You know, 20 minutes or so is probably what you should expect. You know, I flew this for probably at least 7-8 minutes before I did this filming, when I was testing it again, when I had trouble taking off. And so, you know, it was pretty good flight time on this thing, and the compass calibration is also very, very easy on this drone. But if you have any troubles taking off with this drone, just power it all off, turn it on, do your compass calibration again, and that should let you take off. Because if it doesn't, it'll just simply, spin the motors up, and then when you press auto takeoff or give it throttle, it just shuts the motors down. And that's what it was doing to me, and I think it just needed a new compass calibration. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of the FQ777 F8 monster drone, brushless GPS drone with this brushless 2-axis gimbal. Hope you like it. Be sure to leave me a comment if you have any questions. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you know when I do upload new videos, you'll get notified. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.